Welcome to episode 1 of Heart in a Drawer, where we explore the hurts and the healing and hope as adult children of divorce. I'm your host, Sarah Geringer. I'm a Christian author, blogger, and artist, and I am honored to do this ministry to you. This is something I've dreamed of my whole life, and I'm glad to start this journey today with you. So when I was in journalism class in college, I learned that every good article needs to include answers to the questions who, what, where, when, how, and why. That's what I'm going to cover for you in this first episode. So who am I? Who am I, your host? How does what I know relate to this topic? Well, I am a 5th generation resident of Southeast Missouri. My great-great-grandparents settled in this same square mile where I live when they came over from Germany. And when my parents divorced, I was 4 years old. We were living in the basement of my paternal grandparents' home. Now, my dad moved out, and my mom and I and my sister, 2 years younger than me, stayed there for a few years until she could get on her feet financially. And my grandpa had gone through his own divorce. My grandma was actually my step-grandmother, had gone through her own divorce. I think they wanted to help us, not only because they were Christian people and just good-hearted people, but because they had seen how their divorces had wreaked havoc on their families, and they wanted to do what they could to help my mom and my sister and I have some kind of stability after that divorce happened. And I thank God for the difference that my grandparents made in my life. And my dad got remarried right away, and I was 13 when my mom remarried. And then when I was 22 years old, my dad divorced and remarried again. That was actually the same year that I got married, and I married another child of divorce. So we instantly had 4 sets of parents. And when I got married, I wasn't coming from an emotionally healthy place, and neither was my husband. Neither of us had really worked through the pain and trauma of being children of divorce and how that had affected really every part of our lives. But about 10 years into our marriage, I started visiting a Christian counselor twice a month for 5 years. And that's where I started getting healing from all of the hurts and hang-ups I had that were related to the divorce. Many of them, I didn't even realize they were related to the divorce. And I knew that they were in some way impacting our marriage and creating even more problems in our marriage that we never seemed to be able to handle or get past. And so those years in therapy, along with reading the Bible every single day and reading many books in the Christian self-help genre, really helped me overcome that pain that seemed to have a death grip on me. And I know that I've met many other adult children of divorce that feel stuck in their pain, even decades after their parents have divorced. And that's who this broadcast is for. I want to help you get unstuck. I want to help you heal. I want to walk alongside you as a friend in your healing journey. So that's the who about your host. I am also a published author, and I'm a speaker, and I hope to be expanding my ministry to churches and community groups through this broadcast. Now, the other part of who is this podcast for? Well, there are millions of us that have been affected since the no-fault divorce laws went into effect in the 1970s here in the United States. So many of us Gen Xers like me, millennials, and Gen Zers have had negative effects from their parents' divorce, whether it happened when we were little kids, adolescents, or even young adults. It affects us at different ways, but pretty much on the same level, no matter what age we are. And I have to tell you, when my dad divorced and remarried when I was 22, I thought, oh, I got this. I've already lived through this for some 17 years. When this happened when I was 4, this should be easier this time around. And it really wasn't. I was shocked by that fact that it took me a good 10 years to get a handle on him remarrying the second time. And I know what it feels like as a young child for the parents to get divorced, as a young adult. And then through my half-sister, she was 13 when my dad divorced. I have seen what it does to you if you're a teenager. And I've had friends that their parents' divorces have happened at all those stages. And so I want to help you no matter what stage that you're in. And I know that whether you realize it or not, your parents' divorce affects your relationship with God, with your spouse, with your children, and yes, of course, your parents. And I want to help you through these broadcasts to overcome in those areas of struggle, in those relationships with all of those people and with God. And I also need to make an important point that this broadcast is in no way intended to cast stones of condemnation if you have experienced divorce yourself. I know that you carry a lot of pain and guilt and shame, and I'm very sorry for that experience for you. But this broadcast is unique in that it's intended to minister to the hurts and hang-ups of children of divorce that are all grown up now. There's a lot of resources for people who are getting divorced. I think there are lots of good resources for young children and even teenagers whose parents are divorcing. But there's just not a lot of material for us who are all grown up now, by chronologically speaking, but have never completely healed from the wounds that we experienced when our parents got divorced. That's who this broadcast is for. But if you're listening to this maybe as a parent of children of divorce to gain some perspective, or again, if you are divorced yourself, I'm never ever going to condemn you. I want to educate and inform you as well. So what will this show cover? And how will this be accomplished? What I'm going to cover is all of these topics that are pain points for us as adult children of divorce. I've made lists of all the kinds of things I had to deal with over the years, and I'm certain that most of you have had to deal with situations that are pretty similar to mine. And I know what it feels like to be suffering kind of on a low grade level in every little area because of this brokenness inside of us that really never healed. And yet wanting freedom from that bondage to the past and not knowing how to get from here to a place of freedom. And that's what I want to help you with. And I'm coming at this from a faith-based perspective because quite frankly, I don't know that you can heal from this unless it's with God's help. And my episodes are intended to help your unique needs at whatever life stage that you're at, whether you're single or married, whether you have kids at home or you're empty nest. I'm going to be talking to you in ways that will help you in those areas. And how will this be accomplished? What format am I going to use? Well, I'm going to share personal stories with you and information that I've learned, because I know that stories are the way that we connect with each other. And even though my exact story might not be the same as what you experienced, I think when we share our stories, it kind of unlocks our own stories so that we can start exploring those. And also, very importantly, to not feel alone in our pain. So many of us, children of divorce, think that we've been alone and we've suffered in it and we can't talk about it. And it's just too painful. No one would understand. And I want to go there first to sort of open up that pathway for you to start thinking about it and talking about it yourself. And I want to set it up as sharing the stories first, and then also offering a guided meditation on a scripture that has helped me overcome in these areas of struggle. I'm also going to share important books that have helped me on my journey that I feel will be helpful to you. And I'm going to share a prayer with you based on the scripture that I share. And with each episode, I'm going to make a free printable for you that's going to be available on my website. I'll put the link in the notes every time. And that can help you dig deeper into these areas to reflect on how this affects you personally in your own life, in your own area of struggle. And I want to offer you practical help that you can apply with your relationship with God and your spouse and your kids and your parents. That's my goal. Now, why am I doing this? That's a really important question. I feel like the pain from my parents' divorce kind of held me in bondage for years in ways I didn't really recognize. And I know just how pervasive that pain is now that I've healed from it. And I know that there are areas that you're suffering and that you might not even be aware that are related to your parents' divorce. And I want to help set you free through a healing journey as well. But I want to make two important points, and I'm probably going to repeat these in future episodes because they're just so important. One is, I'm coming from a healed place when I'm making these episodes. So for years I felt called to do this, but I don't think it was the right time until now. And one summer I remember making 3 separate phone calls to my dad, to my mom, to my sister. And I said, in each of these phone calls, I said, I'm not asking your permission, but I am giving you a heads up that I'm going to be writing about this. I'm going to be speaking about being a child of divorce. And I know that that involves you. How could it not? Our stories intertwine. But I want you to know that I'm telling my story from my point of view. I'm not going to be telling your story on your behalf. But this is my story to tell. And I feel like I need to share it because the world needs to hear it so that they can heal. And you know what? The amazing thing is that none of them knew that I was having that conversation with the other, but each of them responded in the same way. And they each said, if you're called to do this, this is what you have to do. And I'm glad that they said that because I didn't want to dishonor them. And I want you to know that before I share these stories. It's not to dishonor my family, but I am speaking from a healed place, and someday you can get there too. And the second very important point that I want to make is we're going to be talking about a lot of pain. And there's no way to not talk about pain as an adult child of divorce. It's really the heart of it. And I've decided that I'm not going to edit out times when I start crying. And it's not going to look pretty on camera. It's not going to sound good on the podcast. But you need to know that it's okay to cry. And you need to know that you can't really heal until you cry over these things. And I feel like if I cry, maybe it'll give you permission to cry too. And also, I want you to know that some of these things I'm going to share with you will probably trigger painful memories for you. And the only way that I found true healing from my pain was to go to the counselor's office. And that might be what you need to do as well. And I want you to know that this broadcast is in no way intended to be a substitute for therapy, but it is a supplement to therapy that I wholeheartedly encourage you to seek. It's the only way I found relief from my bondage to the past, and I think you can do that too. I think we need a professional to help us unpack that and heal from it. And I just want to do this as your sister in this journey to help you know that you're not alone and that healing is possible. And maybe I can be the catalyst to get you there. So please don't hesitate to seek out a counselor. It could be the very best investment you ever make in yourself. I know it was the best money I've ever spent in my life, and it could be the same way for you. So, where and when will this be shared? So, this is going to be a video on YouTube, and it's also going to be a podcast wherever you want to listen to podcasts. And I'm going to have these go live on Tuesday mornings. I live in the Central Time Zone, so they will go live on Tuesday mornings. And I hope that you'll be joining me once a week for these affirming broadcasts that will point you toward healing in God's presence. And I'm praying that if you identify with anything that I've shared in this first episode, that you're going to join me for the coming episodes where I'm going to talk about why did I choose this name, Heart in a Drawer, and what kind of stories we're going to be covering. And I promise you that I'm going to walk alongside you in this journey, and I welcome your prayer requests. It is always an honor that when I receive a prayer request from one of my readers or viewers or listeners, and I just consider that a holy and sacred responsibility. And I never share a prayer request with anyone else. I keep it private in that email space, and I'm going to list my contact information for you in the notes. Every time, feel free to keep in touch with me with your prayer requests. It would be my honor and privilege to serve you in that way. So next time, we will look at the story behind Heart in a Drawer and why I chose that name and what that can mean to you. Thank you.